Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, specialists in downsizing and seniors' residences.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt Delvecchio, specializing in life transitions, downsizing in the senior living industry. Corey is off today. And coming right up on the first half of today's show, hockey broadcasting legend Dick Irvin will be joining me. We're going to head down memory lane as we'll hear some stories from the glory years, and we'll also get his take on the Habs heading to the Stanley Cup. Boy, I've been looking forward to this interview. And you know what else I've been looking forward to? It was my second dose. I got vaccinated, second number 2 yesterday. Stephanie, my wife, and I headed down, and boy, oh boy, what a feeling. Just a relief, and so far so good. No side effects. You know, we're getting there. So please, everyone, stay vigilant, responsible, and please get vaccinated. Also, stick around on the second half of today's show. We're going to discuss home care dilemma with our aging population. You know, more and more people want to age at home, and as a result, spouses, children, grandchildren are all experiencing unprecedented stress and responsibility trying to take care of their loved ones. So what options are out there? How do we navigate our healthcare system? What services are available? And a whole lot more. We're going to get some guidance and support from a couple of experts in the field. So that's going to come up after the 3:30 news. All right. You know, I grew up as a kid in the 70s, and when the Montreal Canadiens, they were in their heyday in those times, and it's funny how you remember certain things. Well, one of those is the voice of Dick Irvin. It's just etched in my mind. It must be etched in the mind of many. In fact, we had one listener comment on our Life Unrehearsed Facebook page saying, and I got air quotes here, shivers when I hear his voice. And probably it's because of some calls like this.
Whalers trying to get it out, and they can't. Lemieux to the side of the net, and bodies all over the place. Here's Lemieux with a shot. Scores! Well, yes, it did! The Canadiens have won it!
Oh, just as a reminder, that was actually in 1986 when the Canadiens won the Stanley Cup. That was in the first round, Game 7 overtime winner by Claude Lemieux. They won that, and they continued all the way down to beat Calgary in the Stanley Cup finals. What a call. Dick Irvin, he's inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1988 under the broadcasting category, and in 2004 he was inducted into the Canadian Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame. He has seen it all, and so pleased to have Mr. Irvin as our guest. Mr. Irvin, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Hi, Matt, and it's Dick, not Mr. Irvin, although I know you respect your elders. I have to advise your many faithful listeners of a report I have on you from one of my spies here in Montreal, Bob Babinski, who played hockey with you in, what would that be, in Loyola, Bantam, midget, whatever.
Yeah.
He said you were a good hockey player, you were small but fast.
Bob Babinski, great guy, great media guy, and you know him well, and many people within the media industry know Bob. Just a real gentleman. Well, you know, the nice of Bob to say that. Thank you. Yeah, that was Loyola High School in the early 80s. You heard me, if I can call you Dick, as you said, you heard me talk about second dose. I understand you received your second dose yesterday as well. Is that true?
2:00 in the afternoon, Point Claire Arena.
And how are you feeling?
I'm fine.
Oh.
Yeah, not even a sore arm. Not yet, anyway.
Wonderful. Yeah. Great to hear. Wonderful. Well, first, we have to start, and we have to get your thoughts on the incredible run this year by the Habs in the Stanley Cup Finals. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a bit of a surprise. It's, the run has been just now during the season, and there was mostly gloom and doom for the club during the regular season, such as it was. Everything was so changed this year with just the Canadian teams and that. It's hard to compare. You know, they're comparing it to 93 and all that. I think 93, they certainly had a better season. There's only 3 or 4 teams finished with more points. It wasn't that big a fluke. You had players in that time like Brian Bellows and Kirk Muller and Vincent Damphousse. They all got almost 100 points. Canadians haven't had anybody get 100 points since Mats Naslund in 85, 86. But this team has, to me, and I am not, believe me, you have to excuse me here because I'm not as close to it nearly as I used to be, but they seem to me to be just that, a team. They're really playing well. There doesn't seem to be anybody standing out with the exception of the goaltender. And that's what has caught my eye, is that they're skating well. If you look at the especially the two series with Toronto and Winnipeg, whenever there was a race for the puck, the Canadians won the race. They're really skating well, and it's paying off. And I was told by hockey experts, so-called, that look out for when they play Vegas, they're going to play a team that's going to knock the heck out of them and be big and be tough. And it didn't. Vegas, first of all, didn't play that way. And secondly, the Canadians aren't intimidated at all by anybody, if you ask me. So, hey, if you're going to make the Stanley Cup Finals, you might as well play the defending champion.
You're absolutely right. It's exciting. The city needs it, and we've got hope. And you're right. They've got a great lineup, and we never know. So game time starts on Monday. You know, you have seen it all, and a lot of people may not realize just your history in the game of hockey. And so I'd like to go back to your younger years, because you were exposed to hockey at a very young age. Your dad, Dick Irvin Sr., played in the NHL, a very successful coach. I believe he won 4 Stanley Cups, if I'm not mistaken. So what was it like as a child in that environment?
Well, the day I turned 1 month old, my dad won his first Stanley Cup with coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the first time a team with the name Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup. Toronto teams had won it, but with different names. But, you know, people ask me, Matt, what was it like growing up as the son of a coach in the NHL? And I have to answer, I don't know, because I didn't live with my dad during the hockey season until I was 19 years old. He commuted. We lived in Regina, and the seasons were very short. I mean, that season I spoke of, I think it was 44 games. Then it got to be 48, and so on. So he would leave home in Regina late September, early October, and we'd be home before the end of April. The seasons weren't that long. And my sister and I, we never lived with my father until he moved the family in 1951. So I was with him the last 4 years he coached the Montreal Canadiens, out of the 15 that he did coach them. And then he went to Chicago and coached his final year. So we weren't with him then. We stayed home in Montreal. So it's kind of strange. Sure, he was a celebrity. He would come home to Regina, so on and so forth. And he definitely, hockey was the key to our living, our family. But as far as being with him, no, it was kind of strange that way.
Well, a child of someone in hockey, and I have to give a shout out to your daughter Nancy, who was also instrumental in hooking us up together for today's interview. So shout out to Nancy. I know she's extremely proud of her dad, and I know you're proud of your daughter as well. I want to go back. I believe it was in 1966 when you started as a color commentator on the Canadians radio and television broadcasts alongside the one and only Danny Gallivan. What was it like going side to side for many, many years with another iconic voice?
Well, people ask me, when you retire, you get this kind of a question when you're a broadcaster. What were the highlights of your career, And I have two that I think of right away. Number one was being the English MC the night of the official closing of the Montreal Forum, which was an absolutely spine-tingling show, entertainment. The other was 17 years beside Danny Gallivan in the broadcast booth. Broadcasters in those days would give whatever to do 17 games with Danny Gallivan, and I did 17 years. So we knew each other from before through my father, and it just kind of meshed. It all started for me doing hockey here on CJD. This is the first station that I ever was on the radio, and I was on with Al Colley between periods. I told Aaron Rand this story when they had the recent anniversary at the station, and I was on an intermission, and Brian McFarlane, who was the sports director of CFCF Television, which had just come on the air, heard the interview, and next time he saw me, did you ever think of doing anything like that? And one thing led to another, and I took an audition, and won. Only adventuresome thing I ever did in my life. I'd been an accountant, for God's sake. Now that I'm going to go on television, hey, what am I, crazy?
Hey, graduate of McGill University, though.
Yeah,
Shout
I
out to
know.
McGill, right?
That's what I tell people at McGill. They've a couple of interviews lately. They're doing some stuff on old-timers like me and through the athletic department at McGill recently. And I say, I went 4 years to university just so I could say he shoots, he scores.
Well, Dick, as you know, in the radio world, we're supposed to do these resets to remind our listeners who we're talking to. And it's so funny to hear your voice. It has not changed. And for those that may not recognize that voice, I'm not sure why, but we're talking to Dick Irvin here, Matt Del Vecchio on A Life Unrehearsed. And we're reminiscing about the past and the Habs. And you have seen a lot of Habs teams in your lifetime, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you had to pick the best Habs team you ever saw throughout your storied career, which one would it be?
Scotty's team.
And is there a specific year?
Well, 4 years in a row they won the Stanley Cup, and the second year, I think, what did they lose, 8 games? 7 games, and the next year they had a real bad year. They lost 11.
That's 76, 77, they lost 8, and then 77, 78, actually lost 10.
10, wasn't. Yeah. And, I will, Red Fisher and I used to argue about this all the time, my late great friend, and I don't know, I'll take that team against anybody. I know Red was always for the team that won 5 in a row, the Toe Blake coach team in the 50s. But I don't know. I just maybe I was close to it. I did all their games, home and away. I mean, what better way? I used to do a radio show with Scotty on CFCF before the games, and I used to be happy when they'd lose. Because in the next game on the radio show, I could ask him something different. What do you ask a coach? The team has just won 15 straight. It gets a little boring after a while.
No kidding. Well,
that's my choice. You can name the guys, but
I think you have a lot of people that would agree with you as well. We have to head out to traffic here. We're going to put you on the spot again, but we're going to give you a little bit of a commercial break to think about it. You talked about one of your memories, but of all the years, I'd like to ask you, if you had to pick just one memory that stands out in your mind, what that memory would be.
Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Fleur-Lee Senior Residences. Always there for you. Safe, reassuring, and comforting. We call it home.
Well, Dick, again, thank you very much for coming on. And we're getting texts, and I'm going to try to get to some of them. Your voice is as silk as ever, and we're going to put you on the spot. So many years, so many Habs teams. If you had to choose one memory that stands out in your mind in your career, what would it be?
Well, I'm going to throw you a curve. My broadcast career I can describe in one word. It's lucky. I mean, the Canadians for 33 years. I did, Alouettes, Olympics. I broadcast Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus and Lee Trevino hitting golf balls. Did a tennis final one year on television with John McEnroe against Bjorn Borg. I mean, I was just so lucky. But if you're asking me about, I've been associated with hockey, as you pointed out, right from the day I was born. In 1961, just before I started in the broadcasting business, I was a coach of a bantam hockey team in the town of Mount Royal, and we won the provincial championship. And we beat Shawinigan in Shawinigan 6-0 in the final game. I remember it like it was this morning. That just stands out. That sort of cemented me. I started to think at that time, maybe I want to be a hockey coach. Maybe I'll see if there's a junior team around that might want some help or whatever. Then along came the broadcasting deal a month or two later, and that was that. But it's just being associated with so many different sports. People forget maybe that I did the Alouette games for 8 years with Tex Coulter. Big Tex, nice talking to you. He'd sign off the broadcast when we did it. The Alouettes didn't have very good teams in those years, except one year when Sam Etcheverry was the coach and they won the Grey Cup. But that was a big surprise. It's just I don't have one. I really don't, Matt. It's funny. I suppose a lot of people do, but it's just the life I led. I had a wonderful family, and I had a wonderful job, and It was so. Can you imagine the first game I broadcast? John Bella was taking the opening face-off. Now, come on, does it get any better than that?
Absolutely not. But so interesting, and it goes to show the person that you are. That the one memory that stands out is coaching a junior team, or a bantam team in TMR, and that's something else. Broadcasting, to some they say it's a science, to some others say it's natural. But what do you think? What's the key to the magic? When we talk about Shivers, it really is in listening to you. What makes a great broadcast?
Well, I wouldn't call myself great, but you have to like what you do. That's the whole thing. I've known some hockey broadcasters who have broadcast games for years, and they really couldn't care less if they did a game tomorrow night. Not in Montreal, what I can say, but it's just you just have to. That's what I would tell young people. If you're going out. I was always interested in broadcasting, Matt. When my dad would go up to a radio station coming home to Regina in the summer to be interviewed, I would go with him, and I was fascinated by the radio station, but I never did anything about it. And when I got out of McGill, I worked as an accountant basically for 8 years, and until the broadcasting thing. But deep down, like when Brian McFarland said to me, have you ever thought of doing something like that? And the answer to that was yes, but I didn't tell anybody, and I did nothing about it. And that's the key. You gotta, if you can get my father. I saw so many comparisons with him and Scotty, because I spent 8 years with Scotty Bowman here in Montreal as the broadcaster of his team. They were so alike, so in their approach to the game, and their thinking, and their passion for it. That's the key.
No. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. Matt here talking with a legendary broadcaster, Dick Irvin. You mentioned the Alouettes, and I bet you a lot of people didn't know that. And I also want to remind others that for many years, you were the sports director of CFCF Radio and CFCF TV. Tell us about those days.
Well, that was like about almost 30 years. Those days were peopled by some great guys who worked for me. That was the main thing. We ran a very easy shop, I think. Ron Roos was with me for so many years, and we're still in touch with each other, and the late Jim Bay, and people like that, the late Russ Taylor. That was, I didn't consider myself a boss, I used to have to go to the management meetings, which kind of bored me, and, especially if I'd done a hockey game the night before, and then I had to go to a 9 o'clock meeting at the office. I wasn't too thrilled. But, no, that was just a part of my job. It was just, CFCF was a wonderful place to work, and gave me the opportunity at $75 a week when I started to get into the broadcasting business right off the street. I'd never spoken into a microphone, more or less. And anyway, there I was.
There you go. And Hockey Hall of Fame career later. We're going to get to a text here, and you're one of the few people that could probably give a great analysis of this. And the question comes from Mindset Mark. Dear Dick, would you agree that the closest, maybe not identical comparison between Suzuki and Caulfield would be the diminutive duo of Henry Richard and Yvan Cournoyer?
Well, it's not a bad call. That's I never thought of it that way. But there you had two guys back, Henry and Yvan, who, they were. I wouldn't call them little, but they weren't Bellevaux. They weren't Gordie Howe. They weren't Mario Lemieux. That's a good call. I hadn't thought about that, but these kind of players of that stature, they're important. And then there's some very, very good hockey players. I think of Marcel Dion and guys like that. They weren't big, huge guys, but that's a good call.
And we're going to get one final text in here for you. We're going to have you put your coaching hat on again after that 6-0 big win against Shawinigan. Dominic Ducharme has just come out today saying, I guess he's going to be back in Game 3. Luke Richardson's done a great job as well. If you're coaching the Habs, what are you going to tell them heading into the Stanley Cup Finals?
No, that's up to the coaches. I'm long from that. My father, interestingly enough, coached in the Stanley Cup Finals 16 times.
Unbelievable. 16.
He didn't have a very good record. He only won 4, lost 12. I remember Ken Hitchcock in 1999. He coached Dallas to the Stanley Cup, and afterwards we were at the awards dinner, and Ken was there, and we had a chat, and he was exhausted. He said, "Oh, the finals just wiped me out. He said, they just wiped me out. They played Buffalo in the finals. I said, how many finals have you coached, Ken? He said, 1. I said, my father coached 16. He said, what? He turned gray. He just, couldn't believe. But that's what he did. It was quite a record.
Unbelievable. If you just repeat what you just said, 16 Stanley Cup finals. And not too many people, although you're saying his record is not great, I'm sure there's not too many coaches that can have 4 Stanley Cup rings and such a storied history. And, I'd be remiss, and we're just going to wrap it up here, but you were also inducted into the Order of Canada, weren't you?
Yes, that was 2013. I was very lucky there. I guess they had a quiet year or something. I don't know. Speaking of fathers, I did know your dad, of course. And we were members together in the CN Old Boys. We used to get together for lunch in later years and lie to each other about what great athletes we were, and everything. And he was a wonderful person.
Well, thank you. I don't know who was more excited about interviewing you or him. He's listening intently right now, and I want to really thank you for that. Mr. Dick Irvin, such a pleasure. We do have to wrap it up, but thank you very much for taking some time and reminiscing.
Thank you. Well, listen, thank you for remembering the old-timers. I really appreciate it, and good luck, Matt, with everything.
Thanks very much. Okay. That's legendary broadcaster and Hockey Hall of Famer Dick Irvin. Coming up on Life Unrehearsed, home care dilemma for families, how to navigate the system if you need help at home for a loved one, and what options are out there. And it's a real issue today, and it will be an increasing problem in the future, and we're going to have a couple of experts weigh in on the discussion. That's coming up after the 3:30 CTV News Update.
Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Flora Lee Senior Residences. Always there for you. Safe, reassuring, and comforting. We call it home.